To the Speedmaster, back in the early to mid '90s, Rob Fox owned Paintball Heaven, and at the time he had started a company called World Paintball Distributors to kind of take off on some of the success of WDP. He wanted to be WPD, and anybody who's familiar with the manufacturer of Spyder and Spyder clones at that time, there were literally 5 or 6 city blocks over in China, where Kingman manufactured their guns, as well as all their competitors, which would have been like the 99 gun and the with the ergonomic plastic handle, the one that was sold by Paintball Dallas Superstore, that was featured in all their flyers, and it was a toilet and had the flat bottom grip. So it's never been proven, but it was always assumed that Walter Chang, or as Rob from Paintball Heaven would call him, Water, was making his own clones in his own competition to drive prices up. Rob came up with the idea for this, the Speedmaster, all on his own, and the reason we know this is because the original prototype, as it was made one-off, sat on the wall of National Paintball Supply,
which is probably the one that Dan's been showing me, because there's one that he has as an oddball.
Yeah, and I saw it with my own eyes traveling back and forth to see Gino. And he talked about it and talked about it and talked about it, and lo and behold, one day, after we saw the Speedmaster and Rob talked about it, and we thought it was bullshit, because anybody who knows Mr. Fox knows that was his best product, and Kingman came out with the Spyder SE, and we said, wow, holy crap, he really did invent something. So then moving on, there came a point in time when Rob needed money to build the famous ghost town here at P&L Paintball now, and he settled in San Francisco District Court. I forget the exact year. He settled with Kingman International, with Walter and Tina, to the sum of $350,000 in product was what he would receive in credit. So he was getting cases upon cases of Spyder Special Editions, which at the time were $279 wholesale, and they were retailing for $350, $399. He was selling them locally to me by the carton for $250. So we were picking up a nice $30 bill wholesale. And then again, he making a big push. He was buying surplus lumber, cash money, to buy old building beams and whatnot. So we started getting them. We were down to $210 for a 12-pack. $210 a unit cash, and we were selling them to like Cynthia at Adventure Games at the time by the pallet. We were sending them to National Paintball. I was meeting them in the old USI Apache parking lot under Derringer's nightclub and giving them $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in cash. So we know the product liability story is true because of the amount of money involved when you extrapolate and you start adding the units. So that's kind of where that came from. And then, as far as some of the anomalies that Sean has found, talked about over the years, and I know Dan has brought different parts and pieces up. Again, anybody who knows anything about China, and specifically the Changs, a lot of times they would, in fact, we used to joke that they build guns out of leftover parts and pieces, like hence the TL Plus or the TL, and that is in fact what they do. And that's how we come to the shorter cover was a defect run. We heard that from I can't remember the gentleman's name. He was sponsored by them. He was on company. He used to play with Buddy. Who was your buddy who played with Tommy? Who? Remember? He was on the cover of one of the two extremes with his Spyder, with his white Raven shirt. Not Rusty.
Oh, well, I forget his name. A long-haired dude. Oh.
Yeah.
You remember it when you're not trying to remember it. That's usually how it goes.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But anyhow, so he related, a lot of times one-off things would just sneak out. And again, a lot of the guns were just, in that era, were just made that, they were just made that way. Kind of harkening back to how the Hammer Plus came about. The Hammer Plus was just, somebody threw this idea of the power feed and how great it was, and all of a sudden, hey, Walter made it, and it was kind of neat. We sold a few, but it didn't really work, obviously. And it's just a little bit about the history of.
Because that barrel outside of the manual, I've never seen that barrel in my life.
I've never seen the barrel. I have never seen a green one, but I have seen black ones.
Okay.
And I've seen them that was when they made. So going back to '98 at Mega Sale put on by National Paintball, we bought 240 compact A's, and then we bought 200 Targa packages. Targa was a compact, at the time, a compact P with a one-piece grip frame made specifically for National Paintball, and it came in a box. It was a nice mass-market product, a little bit ahead of its time. And what happened was, that was, as everybody knows, Mega Sale was in August at the Amateur Open. We did the deal there, and then we got home, and about 2 weeks later, we opened the cover of 8PG, and here's the Compact 2000. Retailing for $99 when we just did the deal, and we spent $89 on 440 combined units, and we bought compacts. This was the 2000, which came with the raised sight rail, the volumizer, a 45 frame.
Yeah.
And so we felt slighted by that. We had some stern words for Kingman, and in the past I've been featured in Walter and Tina's ads. We were one of their original 10 customers and had a great relationship. And at that time when that happened, it was a big blow up, and at the time we dumped them, we stopped selling them. We actually had a paintball store in New England, one of the biggest up here, and we only sold Rebels, which made life difficult for a while. But that's another interesting piece of history from that time frame in the industry.
Okay. Well, thank you. Much appreciated.
Oh, you're welcome.